Now I'll read a few selections from On Time with its beautiful cover by Arthur Okamura. Open with a quote from Soko Morinaga, the Zen teacher. The mind with which you were born is a mind that moves freely. It reacts wholeheartedly to everything it encounters, on which it reflects. You go to war with the army you have. The froth of rapid associations is entirely in the mind. This here is not moving. Our garden has become overrun with a new generation of scrub jays. They make very loud sounds and fly about aggressively, pecking holes in the apples. To make them fly away, we clap our hands or tap on the window. They mostly learn to shut up. The other day, our friend from Argentina saw us run out on the deck after lunch and clap our hands. He thought it was some kind of New Age California ritual to end a meal. Time to find out later what went right and what didn't go right, right? And this is in the Asian calendar, the year of the Ram. It's a piece called Permission by the Horns. The quote starts with a quote by Philip Whalen. It's true as Duncan used to say, we need permission for what we do. Next, we must grab permission by the horns and hang on. It isn't just a rant, a gift, a boon. Grab it and run before they change their minds. The mockingbird nearby is perfectly replicating the quail's three-note descending call. Time to move the ashes back to the main house. Bits of my friends, Nancy, Philip, and quite remorselessly, ashes I can no longer identify, planning to put them in the ground under a large rock, which isn't there yet. Writing poems at the beginning was a place to put some untidy emotions, until I realized nobody wanted to read about them. This sounds like a simple improvisation, but actually it's composed. To the cemetery on the Day of the Dead with miracles, one for each grave that we know, and one for the old, old ones. Vicente Fox, the last president of Mexico, says in his memoir that George Bush walks like he has a watermelon under each arm. Sunday morning rain, oil spill still moving along the shore. European Parliament last week proposed turning the Afghanistan poppy crop into legal opium-based painkillers. Great idea. So impatient with the young locals' posturing of entitlement. The art of living slowly. How I wish I'd had my hair cut before being photographed at the local figure drawing show last Saturday, which will live on the front page of the weekly coastal news for as long as paper and air last. And may I ask, how old is air, holding the sorrowful remnants of little nations, conquering littler nations, whose names we don't even know anymore, although the ground remains the same in patient aging, or you can drop the patient part. The ground is changing, always changing. Fact-checking. In 1962, when I was leaving India with Gary Snyder, I saw a necklace called a beggar's necklace, made of semi-precious stones that I wanted. Gary said, yes, you can buy it if you learn the names of all the stones. Never pass up an opportunity for self-education. The New Yorker magazine is doing a profile of Snyder, and I told the reporter Dana Goodyear this story and showed her the necklace. A New Yorker fact checker, Chris Jennings, called me up yesterday and wanted to know how many different stones there were in the necklace. Dana wrote that there were dozens. I went and got the necklace and counted the different kinds of stones over the phone to the fact checker. 8 different kinds of stones. Red, orange, green, milky white, blue, mossy green, mottled brown, glittery rust. I'm very busy right now, so I can't answer all those questions about beat women poets. A startled melancholy underlies awe. The party's over for the dollar. Blood-splattered wallpaper would find a substantial niche market. Is it that you don't want to do it? Or is it that you can't make the private public like the poet? But does the public want to hear it? US has a lot of enemies. Are they mine too? Not a very nice night. I'm stuffing a long woolen muffler into this person's mouth. There are those Buddhists, like myself, who do not scorn the idea of mere things possessing a sanctity of their own. John Blofield. Unlimited growth on a planet of finite size. The brisk spring wind sets in motion the wheel of mind, restless as 5 monkeys running in place. At least it's entertaining when there are dreams of many, energetically bringing, quote, Zen from India to China to Japan to California and New York, riding on a wave of understanding, and like sunlight, arriving without a sound. Quote, a great vampire squid is wrapped around the face of humanity. Goldman Sachs. And no more public ownership of seeds, which is as discouraging as the compost grinder disgorging sounds across the road like a semi-truck idling its motor from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Very pissed off, turned on the jazz station really, really loud, possibly annoying another neighbor behind me. Remember, before it all quickly drains away, you were practicing patience today. Mocking yourself. A night full of yellow rubber duckies leads one to the low tide of the imagination. Actually, somebody's really out there picking up sand dollars after picking up the daily news. Yuck, what a blast of the nasty past with failing banks. Guess what? You get no interest whatsoever in this melancholy climate of late afternoon. For heaven's sakes, learn how to take care of more than yourself, balancing the give and take of what it takes to make a wholesome dream into the American dream going south without a jot of understanding about these phony wars and delirious debt. Wishing you clear new space upon your departure. The space, of course, of foothills, mountains, rivers, ocean, and sky, and to rooms with all the books and the voices that murmur them all through time, and the meeting with old friends and ones yet to arrive, through the gates that open to let you pass. For Leslie Scalapino. Last rays in the garden. They lasted a long time, didn't they? Those rays. Active. As active as an overactive imagination, that's the wind you're hearing now. This reflection is meant to be refined by the simplest reduction, led by the voice of winter wind reviewing history terribly old. A story is told in a single breath, so easy to remember, it blows right through you. Albert. When I came back from a trip to Europe and New York in the late 60s, I found the summer of love and the Bay Area awash with psychedelic participants. I went to Albert, who was living in Mill Valley. He showed me some new household practices he had learned. when you are sweeping the floor in the morning, take a piece of newspaper, dampen one edge, and lay it on the floor. Then you sweep all the dust into it and fold it up and put it neatly in the wastebasket. And then I asked him, how can I understand this new hippie culture? Albert said, well, when you wake up in the morning, get stoned. And I mean really, really stoned. If you do this every day, you can eventually change your consciousness. About 15 years later, when I saw him next, I asked, did you ever say when we were supposed to stop? Write something about poetics. Cedar, from Cedar Psycho, who asked me to write something about poetics. I dream about a totem pole of poets. Actually, it was a poster Andrew Hoyam did for a reading of Bolinas writers in the early 70s at SF MoMA, and we're sitting on each other's shoulders. Now the local wild is looking pretty trimmed and tame, with extreme conditions being the new weather norm. Where did all those late night thoughts go about emptiness and the majority being those who have passed away from us? I don't like the word old when speaking about myself, preferring the word mature. She is in her mature years, watching the gray-blue heron strike a gopher in its hole and gulp it down. Wild currant is blooming pink, the Odyssey found at random. You are in search of some simple way to find your home, but the old gods reach out with their stories and resentments, and so your journey will be troublesome and, frankly, endless, and you will go on to meet people who have never heard of you, caught inland by the outgoing long tide, where you will find a place to plant some seeds and tell your story all over, and give a bit of sacrifice so those dead ones can speak again. Everything I know about you guys is wrong. Exhausting the intellect and imagination, what is left? The flicker walks on the grass and then freezes still for 5 minutes, as do I. This is a chance to practice meditation. He's my teacher, listening to worms turning. In a dry and merciless reality, you are what remains. Stoutly maintains, I never rewrite. So what about those many sheets of drifting time and intents, hoping to pin down the elusive tone that makes a poem? Peripheral from the sidelines, looking in from the edge, always give yourself a quick escape route at assemblies of people. Sit near an exit, be on the fringe, able to drift away from the front and center places where power plays a dangerous role on earth, the only place we can live. Head full of springs, wind, pollen, self-radicalized through random reading. Did you do this to me? After having my teeth cleaned. Day after day, they're numbered, even if you live in the now. I don't want to pursue you if you don't think this way, but really, how else can you make history, unless you see time pass by with its chronology of cause and effect? A large willow branch breaks in the wind, now cut into pieces to burn when it dries during this summer's cold mornings. If your body is ill, your mind needn't be. Joanna McClure can't remember Emily Dickinson's name and tells me what Jess Collins used to say. At your age, do you ever think about the hereafter? Yes, when I go into another room and ask myself, what am I here after? Post-extinction. How could you forget me so quickly? But the way you are reached, touched, awakened by the world continues. The same way you yourself pass along a freely given lineage of existence. Each one, everything, perfect as is. Like the moon going down never really leaves the sky. So existence never quits, never began, never ended. You see in the moment. So sorry it will never be like this again. But when has the present ever been singular? Everything with a language of distinction, with sorrow, with melancholy, with sweet appreciation of an extinguished future when water becomes a state of being. I'll close with, wherever you walk, there's a path. When words let go of you, who are you anyway? Every time you go away, a way opens up. Everywhere you are. Where words are your path, your words are your path. Thank you.